Governments are demanding more information from tech firms at a growing rate. A study says that the TikTok algorithm is designed to make us more favorable towards China. The head of integration of Rust into the Linux kernel resigns, and Canva raises its prices by as much as 300%, claiming that AI features make it worth it. All this and more on the AI Devil Made Me Do It edition of Hashtag Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. We've done a number of stories between this and our sister podcast, Cybersecurity Today, that focus on the amount of data that companies are collecting on us from our internet and social media usage. And we assume that most of that data goes to companies that want to use it to sell us products and services. But it turns out that governments are also demanding data on us from these same companies. And there is, according to a recent study from Surfshark, a cybersecurity company, an increasing number of requests for user data from major tech companies. The study shows that the scale and scope of these requests over the past decade has grown. From 2013 to 2022, government agencies worldwide requested data from nearly 9 million user accounts across Apple, Google, Meta, formerly Facebook, and Microsoft. The United States leads the pack in data requests with a staggering 3.3 million accounts requested over the decade. Now, to make comparison easier, the report expresses the number in terms of requests per 100,000 people of the country's population. And when we put it that way, the U.S. government requests information on 989 accounts per 100,000 people, or if you prefer, 1 in 100 U.S. residents. That's 9 times the global average. Following the U.S. are Germany and the United Kingdom with 850 and 453 accounts requested per 100,000 people, respectively. Now, the good news for Canadians is that we're number 27 on the list, with a mere 145 requests per 100,000 people, or about 6 times less likely to request information than our counterparts in the U.S. Still, the trend is clearly on the rise. In 2022 alone, the report notes a 38% increase in requests compared with the previous year. In fact, the number of accounts requested has increased more than 8 times since 2013. Now, how are the tech companies responding to these requests? On average, they're complying with them about 72% of the time. And remember that idea that Apple guards your information? Well, not according to this report. In fact, Apple leads the pack with an 83% compliance rate in 2022, but the others aren't far behind. Google complies with 72.9% of the requests, Meta about the same with 72.8%, and Microsoft is the lowest, complying with 67% of requests. As our lives become increasingly digital, governments are clearly seeing our online data as a valuable source of information for whatever usage they may make of it. And as we've said before, why bother spying on your population when you can just buy the data from data brokers, or in this case, just demand it from tech companies? And given how easy it is to get that data, it's a worthwhile question to ask, what are they doing with it? And how are they ensuring it's used only for the purposes they requested it for? The same transparency that governments demand or should demand of the companies who gather our data. And that remains the unanswered question. The report and many useful graphs can be downloaded from the link at the show notes at technewsday.com or .ca. Most of our focus on TikTok has been on the data that they might be gathering on us. We maybe should be more concerned, or at least equally concerned, at the data they're sending to us. Researchers from Rutgers University and the Network Contagion Research Institute have found evidence suggesting TikTok's algorithms actively suppress content critical of the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, while boosting pro-China propaganda. How do they do it? Well, content suppression is one way. The study found that TikTok's algorithms appear to systematically downplay sensitive discussions about issues like ethnic genocide or human rights abuses in China. Researchers examined search results for 4 keywords often associated with China's human rights issues: Uyghur, Xinjiang, Tibet, and Tiananmen, as in Tiananmen Square. I hope I pronounced them correctly. But they compared results across TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for these keywords. Stark contrast, for instance, only 2.3% of search results for Xinjiang on TikTok were considered anti-China, compared to 21.7% on YouTube and 17.3% on Instagram. Similarly, for Tiananmen, over 26% of TikTok results were pro-China versus just 7.7% on YouTube. And apparently this is working, and it's changing user perceptions. A survey of American TikTok users revealed that heavy users of the app, those using it for more than 3 hours daily, showed a 49% increase in their positive perceptions of the CCP's human rights record compared to non-users. Similar effects were not observed with heavy users of YouTube or Instagram, suggesting this is a TikTok-specific phenomenon. Now, the findings raise serious questions about TikTok's influence on public perception, especially among younger users. The researchers suggest this aligns with the strategic objective of shaping favorable perceptions of China among young audiences. It's worth noting that TikTok has challenged the study's methodology, calling it non-peer-reviewed, a flawed experiment clearly engineered to reach a false predetermined conclusion. But you also have to look at the reputation of Rutgers University, which is quite sound. The study adds to ongoing concerns about TikTok's relationship with the Chinese government. And we are reminded that both the Trump and Biden administrations have taken steps to address potential national security risks associated with the app. But as we navigate the complex landscape of social media and global politics, it's crucial to remain aware of how algorithms might be shaping our perceptions of world events and countries. Wedson Almeida Filho, a software engineer at Microsoft who has overseen the Rust for Linux project, announced his resignation from the project last Thursday. This is seen by some as a setback to efforts to incorporate the Rust code into the Linux kernel. Filho cited frustrations with non-technical nonsense as his primary reason for stepping down. He states that after nearly 4 years, he lacks the energy to respond to certain types of interactions. Now, the Rust for Linux project aims to bring memory-safe advantages of the Rust language to the C-based Linux kernel. This effort began in 2020 and saw its first fruits with the release of Linux 6.1 in late 2022. Memory safety bugs are a major source of serious software vulnerabilities in C and C++ projects. There's been a push from major tech companies and governments to adopt memory-safe languages like Rust. But not all of the Linux community has embraced this with open arms. Filho's resignation highlights the ongoing resistance within the Linux kernel community to the adoption of Rust. He referenced a video where a respected kernel maintainer expressed reluctance to learn Rust. Now, Filho emphasized that no one is trying to force kernel developers to learn Rust or prevent refactoring of C code. These misconceptions seem to be a source of the tension. But despite the setback, Filho believes that the effort to add Rust code to the kernel is going well, although they're encountering some roadblocks as new components are developed. Some developers have expressed sympathy for Filho's decision, noting the difficulties faced by Rust maintainers. Others, like Drew DeVault, have proposed alternative approaches, such as building a new Linux-compatible kernel from scratch in Rust. The situation highlights the challenges of introducing significant changes to established open-source projects, especially one as critical and complex as the Linux kernel. It also underscores the ongoing debate in the tech community about the balance between maintaining existing code bases and adopting new, potentially safer technologies. And it also emphasizes how open source can be as much about community as it is about technology. Linus Torvald, the founder of Linux, has reportedly remained silent during this great controversy, which might be a good strategy. And if you've ever wondered how companies were going to make back the money they put into moving AI into their software, well, we can only hope that Canva is not indicative of what will be a general trend. Canva, a popular graphic design platform which was seen as a simple and affordable alternative to the pricier Adobe suite, is set to dramatically increase prices for some of its users in 2024. Reports from various sources indicate Canva Team subscribers could see their prices increase by over 300%. In the US, prices could jump from $120 per year for up to 5 users to $500 per year. Canva attributes this increase to an expanded product experience, particularly citing the value added by their new generative AI tools. And Canva has aggressively rolled out AI features like Magic Media for text-to-image generation and Magic Expand for background extensions. The price increases hit global customers even more heavily. In Australia, for example, a team of 5 users could see their annual costs rise from about $323 US to $1,636 US. We still haven't gotten good data from Canada. We did find a report of one user who reported seeing a price of $149.99 or $150 Canadian for the year, but who encountered a different amount of $380 Canadian when attempting to purchase, which may relate back to the Teams plan. Canva has slid by price increases in the past by changing its Teams subscription model in April, moving to $10 per month per user, but then putting a minimum of 3 users. Existing users are now being moved to this structure. We've tried to validate some of these prices, but Canva does that thing we love to hate, where you can get a free trial, you can see the features, you can talk to sales, but there's no place to just easily find out what does this cost. What the impact will be on Canva? As we noted, it was once seen as an affordable alternative to the more expensive design software like Adobe Suite, but no one's certain. Predictably, the price increase is met with criticism from users, with some announcing plans to cancel their subscriptions and switch back to Adobe applications. The price hike, which is supposedly because of its AI features, also follows Canva's acquisition of the company behind Affinity's creative software suite that precedes a potential US public listing in 2026. And Canva is not the first to post a price increase for their AI features. Microsoft earlier started to charge $20 to $30 per month for its Copilot Pro and Microsoft 365 Copilot. While these amounts are not earth-shattering, if this happens across all software programs, it could significantly add to the cost per employee for software for companies, especially those with a lot of users. And it could give some IT management a real challenge at budget time. That's our show for today. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a wonderful Wednesday.